Today I have a flip through for you of the 8 new one signature sewing themed junk journals that I have just completed this afternoon. I will talk through the first one and explain it. All of them are pretty much the same as far as having the same elements, just maybe a different version of a color. So after the first one, I will set the rest of the video to music. These measure 8.5 by 5.5. There are 20 pages folded, so that makes 40, or 80 back and fronts. They are all made with a vintage sewing pattern as the cover, and I have some of them are in pretty rough shape, and so I have put washi tape over some of the places that were a little marred. But I decided against putting Mod Podge on it just because I really don't think they were in that terrible of shape, and I just didn't want the texture of the Mod Podge on the fronts of these. So you are welcome to cover it yourself with a spray adhesive or a Mod Podge, but I think they'll be okay. All the ones in the past have held up pretty well. So all of them have names, and today I'm going to start with Simplicity 7154. This one is called the Katie, and it is a child/preteen pattern. I have 2 child/preteen patterns, and the rest are women's patterns. Each of them is tied with a piece of vintage fabric or a vintage sheet strip, and I picked the fabric according to the colors on the front of the pattern. We have a pocket inside with a little fabric flower that I've made. And then I made some more of the little snarky sayings. I did Rolodex cards in a video previously, but these are made into tags. And so I just added a little bit of humor in these. I thought that would be fun. And it has an adorable fabric, like tiny ditzy floral fabric. And then this is a printable from KB&Friends. I will list all the digitals below that I used in these journals. I used just a handful of kits and just 1 or 2 pieces from each. Here's a fabric ruffle here. And then here we have a vintage ticket, and I've stamped a little safety pin. All of them have a different image on the stamps. Well, there's 2 of each of 4 designs. This is a piece of vintage wallpaper. I also tucked a lot of sewing how-to book pages in these little journaling cards. I tried to keep these bright and colorful and very summery looking. A little bit of gold washi on the edge of that page. This paper was actually I dyed it using cake sprinkles. So if the other journals, I believe, have Kool-Aid dye paper in them. This is from a magazine from the 60s. Tucked in here, we have a little scrappy pad with a piece of fabric on the top. Here's one of my daughter's watercolor flowers. Beautiful doily. This is art tissue dyed paper. I did a fresh batch of these for these journals. And then we have a little bit of DMC floss and a digital of some Jersey Milk tickets, and then this adorable journaling card fixing her brother's overalls. This is an attendance sheet from a church, and then a little paper flower here. I used a vintage playing card to do a tuck spot, and then you guys, I'm so excited. I had my first successful decoupage with a napkin experience. I have these beautiful napkins. There's several different kinds, and you'll see them in the journals. And then I did some decorative stitching around, and then inside of them is just the little extra pieces that I thought you might want to use to decorate or journal, and I didn't really know where to put them, so I just tucked them in here for you. This is a page from a typing textbook. Here's a little paper dress, and I've put little ribbon flowers on the waistline. We have a vintage thank you card and a vintage index card. This is an image that I found and then printed and then watercolored. Piece of vellum. And then the center pocket has a journaling card with a piece of a doily wrapped around it. I got this idea from Carol at Crinkle Path. She debuted this in a video this week, and I was intrigued because I'm always looking for ways to use my doilies. We have a little note sheet, and this is a thrifted vinyl not placemat, tablecloth, and I cut the flowers apart and put them on these bright cards and then sewed around them with a zigzag stitch, and I thought they turned out so groovy. And then there's a vintage recipe card in here from the McCall's magazine, and then this, it's folded so you can unfold it, but to fit in the pocket I had to fold the bottom. This is a piece from a Singer sewing parts catalog from the 1930s, I believe, and it's just beautiful. And then two little buttons I tied on the center signature, and I coordinated those color-wise for every journal. Here's a little fabric cluster. Piece of my aged cellophane tape. Another one of my daughter's watercolors. This is just a stamped image on a piece of paper, and then this is one of my fabric flashcards. And then here, this is a digital of a button, and I've made it shiny with glossy accents. And then this is a piece of a vintage tape measure and a little journaling card. Fabric tab, a little digital of a thread sticker for the top of the spool. I did these in my last sewing journals and they were so fun. And this time I got to use my new sewing machine. So it's just a stitch sampling card, and I sort of made it sound like it was the new stitches for the winter of '67. And this is a fun little tag and a limeade label. And then here is another pocket that I've sewn a little cluster on. And then a fabric tag with some vintage simplicity fabric. Or the fabric's not vintage, but it's made to look vintage. And then this is from a sewing book for the home, and I've just turned it into a journaling card, and I watercolored the image. And then last, we have a patchwork fabric pocket on the back cover, and a While You Were Out, and then a little journaling card. Okay, so again, this is the Katie. For the next ones, I will just put the name of the journal on the screen. So if there's one that you're interested in, head over to my shop. These will be listed tonight, this is Tuesday, May 29th, I believe. It's Tuesday night, and they will be listed at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of the flip through.